Hey everyone, Dark Phoenix released a trailer showing us what could be the final X-Men movie under the Fox Marvel banner before it merges with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But as we look ahead to this transition, which of these X-Men cast members could Kevin Feige keep? Who could probably be rebooted? And who might not even survive this movie? Welcome to New Rockstars News. It's our deep dive into all the biggest stories this week. So we're also going to talk about Venom and DC Birds of Prey movie and the Black Widow movie and other Joker movies that are happening. Spinoff with Harley Quinn. I'm Erik Voss. Joining me at this table are Sam Bashor and Philip Molina.
Hello.
Welcome back. It's been a minute.
Been one hot minute. I'm excited to be back, and I want to talk about this Dark Phoenix because there's just a lot to unpack, and there's a lot of fun theories out there.
Oh yeah.
Did you learn a lot of your suspension?
I did.
Good.
I did, and I'm ready to share with the class.
Let's dive into it. Our top story, the Dark Phoenix trailer, and how it sets up the upcoming transition of the X-Men into the MCU. I already did a full breakdown of this trailer for all the interesting Easter eggs that you might have missed. Actually, there were like little fun references to the Legion show on FX and the character Bishop, so check out that video. I want us to talk about the question of which of these X-Men could live on in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because I think it's pretty likely that Kevin Feige is going to reboot the X-Men. Why would he turn down that chance? Like, this is his baby come home, right? And if you think it's huge. Like, if you think about the Spider-Man character and the X-Men character are probably the hottest properties of the Marvel comics universe before Iron Man came on the scene and the Avengers took over.
Spider-Man is the most popular fictional character, period.
Yeah,
basically.
Mm-hmm.
Makes so much money, it's insane.
Yeah,
it's crazy. So like, why not create it? Like, that's your phase 4 right there. So of course, I assume he's gonna reboot it. Now, Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart's incarnations of the characters, of course, were killed off in Logan, and I think it's possible that the biggest stars of this X-Men timeline will go too, based off this trailer. A lot of the shots suggest that at least one major character will die. Which, if you watch the video, I was saying that my theory is Mystique, but it could also be Quicksilver. He's not in a lot of the footage.
That barely looks like a grave, by the way.
Looks like a stain or something.
Hastily dug grave.
No, it could totally be like Phoenix like fried someone, and then they're just like put flowers on top of that spot.
No time.
Or it might be Jean, because Phoenix, they're supposed to rise again. Anyways,
right.
And
she
also,
could die and come
dead
back.
kid at the school is, you want to bury that quick. You don't want anyone to find out about that. Dead kid in space? Get out of there.
It can't be that ceremonious of a funeral, because Beast isn't even wearing shoes to it. That's pretty casual Friday.
You can see his thumbs.
Yes, feet thumbs. Or toes. Feet thumbs sounds better. Well, I'm curious, which of these characters, and, we can throw Deadpool and his supporting players too, because they're part of the X-Men universe as well. Do you guys think could carry their own weight as we head into the MCU? And which characters do you think, they're probably worth maybe taking a new look at and starting fresh?
Well, I know that this is tough, because at the end of the day, I honestly want them to do that with all of them. I don't want any of the characters to cross over, aside from Deadpool. I think Deadpool is kind of the given of, like, Deadpool would be calling out the merger, right? He'd be like, I got to keep my job, like that'd be part of it. But from the X-Men universe, no, I think it's time to start fresh and see what Marvel, what Kevin Feige specifically would do with it. But if I had to pick, because you're making me, then I'll. Ow! You're squeezing me under the table.
Pick.
You're often squeezing me under the table.
For different things.
Magneto, I think, is a fantastic portrayal, and I actually really like it, especially he's still young in his portrayal of it. So, he could still even age into the villain that we're familiar with. But last week I talked about how I would love to see more Mystique. Jennifer Lawrence is not technically part of the MCU, and she's one of the only actors that kind of like you would assume would be by now. I feel like if they did keep her too, that would make sense. I think everybody else, they're kind of like, we could do better casting than this, and better interpretations of these characters.
I think better interpretations.
That's the big
casting,
one.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with the people they picked to play Storm and Nightcrawler and X-Men Apocalypse, but it's just like they weren't given their time to shine, and they're fascinating characters, more fascinating than what like Feige said to work with in the MCU. Like Ant-Man, Scott Lang is an okay character,
the Guardians
but not
are
like
such a great
Nightcrawler
example, right?
Yeah.
The Guardians are exactly what they like had to be able to pull off because they couldn't do the X-Men. So now imagine if they did have those characters.
No, the Guardians are a great example of like how you can actually improve a lot of characters. Like, do you guys remember any personality from Cyclops from either iterations that we've had of him? Actually, we've had like 4, right? Because we had X-Men.
He screams.
He screams. Yeah, he's angry, and
because he has to emote only here. Too.
Yeah, you can never get his eyebrows either. It's like right. Oh, to be fair, he did have those Oakleys instead of the
the
full face goggles.
Yeah.
I would want who to bring over, I really like these two. Like, I think also Jennifer Lawrence just seems like done. Like, I like your theory that like that's Mystique because she's like, I don't want to come back for
well,
reshoots.
that's it.
Yeah.
No, Jennifer Lawrence, I think, is like, how am I in these?
Yeah.
Like, how did that happen?
How do I get looped into this so early on?
Yeah.
Like, I'm done.
I have an Oscar.
Yeah.
I've
but
won
no,
so many awards since taking on.
it would be amazing to see these two actors like move on, but also like they're tired. Look at them; they look tired. Look at close up. Look at James McAvoy.
Yeah, he's lost all his hair.
Yeah. Not from stress or any normal thing, from alien Egyptian magic. That doesn't, whatever. That part made no sense in that movie. Anyways, but anyone you're going to pull over, just do the Deadpool cast. It's the one that works the most. And I couldn't tell you who's playing the young ones. I know Ty
Sheridan from Ready Player One. They were all like getting work and big gigs. It's just like they aren't immediate like franchise holding stars. I would say.
It'd be a real dick move, but would be real fun to watch. Would be making them re-audition for their same parts.
We're just trying to be fair to everyone out there.
Ty
Give
Sheridan
everyone
for
a
Cyclops.
chance.
You'll see on my resume I played the role before. I'm very familiar. I know all the lines.
He's wearing like a Greek mythology Cyclops face. It's like, in case you want to do a different take on it. No, I agree with the Deadpool cast. I think they're all super fun. There's a weird thing with Thanos and Cable, right? Like Josh Brolin, I don't know if he could play both parts, or maybe
Of course
they just
you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanos
We
is a
have one
giant
scene.
raisin. Yeah,
It becomes like the clumps. Josh
Yeah.
Brolin, essentially.
Well, in Buffy, the Master was played by two different actors, and most people have never even realized it. Just because, like, once you're behind all that stuff, it's kind of it all looks the same.
Yeah, it's a shame because I think Sophie Turner and Ty Sheridan are really strong actors. It's just like they brought them in so late in this iteration of the X-Men universe and X-Men Apocalypse in a movie that a lot of people weren't crazy about. So it kind of trickled down that disexcitement onto them. So now when they're coming back, it's like, oh, I like Sophie Turner in Game of Thrones. I don't know if I'm ready to see a whole movie where she's a star of it.
I was going to say, I'm a
watch it,
huge
though.
Game of Thrones fan.
Yeah.
I don't think Sophie Turner's that amazing of an actress. I actually think that Jean Grey is one of the most fascinating characters in the Marvel Universe, and I think that Sophie Turner's playing her not very different than even Sansa Stark, right? Like she's like, basically I'm playing Sophie Turner. But could you imagine like how like chunking that role is? Like somebody like Jennifer Lawrence could really like play the hell out of these parts. I mean, this is like someone who's like essentially has like trauma and also like supreme power of the mind. Like that's a very fascinating role.
Yeah.
It is, and it seems like Fox only knows one story that she's in, and that's this movie.
Right.
That's it. Like, since this is the third time we got mention of it. Also, you saw the Phoenix pop up in in Apocalypse, right? We saw that
at the end,
which is super confusing, right?
Well, I think
I know there's other things.
Yeah,
it is kind of confusing.
Like
though.
she visits her when she first gets her powers as a kid when her friend's in the coma because she recognizes her potential and kind of lays dormant, but it's not full Phoenix Force yet until the space mission. It's
an
kind of
investment,
but it's not. Yeah, I think they had to go back and kind of retcon that to. It's.
I used to visit you when you were a child, and I was like, "There's potential.
There's potential here. I'll just give 30% myself to her." Yeah, I do agree. I think it's hard to see with. It might just be because I'm older now. When I saw the X-Men movies, I was a kid, and then throughout my teenage years is when they started coming up. So like when I saw Jean Grey and Scott Summers, I'm like, look at these adults who could be my parents, and I'm like, look at these children.
Well, no, they did cast way younger.
They did cast way younger, but at this point, it takes place in 1992. They're supposed to be around like a couple years before the age they are in the first X-Men movie,
right?
When the leather.
Yeah, because they shot that in
jumpsuits.
97.
Yeah. So it's supposed to be, but it's like, oh, I just see them as
Sam
children.
Key has always looked like 41, like perma 41.
Yeah, beautiful. But yeah,
exactly. It's like great.
Yeah.
I would like a fresh start with a lot of these characters, and I would like them to age them up. And I think there's a lot of cool ways that you could do that. There was somebody who threw out a fun fan theory for like how you could get the mutants involved. I don't know if you want to talk about that later, but
Go for it. No,
but like that the way that they've introduced that Scarlet Witch has her abilities, there could be a fun way of her dealing with the trauma of Infinity War, being like, instead of no more mutants, you say all of the, and then she's seeding out like the rest of her energy throughout the world, and she becomes like kind of like the reason why there's more mutants in the world. Also, a fun way was that if you have all your Avengers sacrificing themselves with the Infinity Gauntlet, blah, 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 you could have them maybe in their head thinking like, or wishing, because it's basically a wishing stone, saying that like we want to leave more people behind for the future to protect, and so mutants just start popping up. People just start becoming mutants, and there's a cool story that you could go along with now that like the MCU hasn't have to dealt with superheroes in their backyard, and now they're popping up everywhere, and then that's when you get your racist stories, your prejudice and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think there's fun stuff you could do with that.
That's very cool. The idea of Infinity War's impact creates the mutant gene,
Yeah.
right? Or alters a mutant gene, right? Like in bringing everyone back, there's like a wave of like some sort of, not necessarily radioactive wave, but something like that just alters DNA in, 1 in every 100,000 people or something like that.
There you go.
Yeah.
And you could have you could have them younger, older, doesn't matter. It's like, or you could have a story that they've been there the whole time. There's a lot of options that you can do.
See, that's the one I don't want. I don't want something where they've been there the whole time, because then it's plot holes like times a million, right?
Yeah, they're already kind of running that with Captain Marvel a little bit. Like she was there the whole time. It's like, well,
It's like,
why
we gotta
didn't
get her off
she
planet
help
really fast.
every other time? Yeah.
No, yeah, they all are off planet. They're
Yeah.
all hanging out with
Yeah.
Captain Marvel on a beach planet.
Classic.
I think that they'll probably not age them up, unfortunately, even though I do like those, serious interpretations, because I think they're going to want to do the school element, like the mansion feel, and then also set up for these people playing these roles for 10 years, hopefully. So we'll probably get like a young version of this being introduced.
Yeah.
And it could be kind of cool to have, if you wanted an MCU connection, it could be really cool to have Spider-Man be the connecting piece, because you always had like Spider-Man, X-Men, like you said, those were the hot tickets for Marvel in the 90s, early 2000s, and still
Even
kinda,
the animated crossover was a big deal.
Yeah, and the video game where it was just Spider-Man, X-Men, like there's like a lot of examples of it working, and you could have like Iron Man being the connecting piece for Spider-Man in his movie. Spider-Man is now the connecting piece for X-Men. Also in the Ultimate Universe, like a popular story was everyone thought they hated Spider-Man kind of because they thought he was an X-Men, and also he kind of is, right? He mutated because of radiation. They're mutants. Let's just call them what they are. Anyways,
Right.
that's a different. We could do a whole video on that. How
Yeah, for
if
sure.
you got powers, just call them a mutant because you mutated to get them.
Yeah,
Right.
I think it's all this just makes me very excited for Phase 4. I know at times we've talked about like, well, what's going to happen really to the Marvel brand after Avengers 4, because that's been like all of it, and a lot of these characters I assume are going to be moving on. Like the idea of Kevin Feige producing X-Men movies under the Marvel brand, that to me is super exciting, just because when I was a kid, like the first comic superheroes that I was aware of were the X-Men. Those are like the most exciting stories before we got this whole idea of cinematic universes. The X-Men was one of the first big superhero movies we got when we were kids. So this idea of now it's kind of coming back home. I think there's so much to explore. And sure, I'd be interested in seeing Mystique, but I'm kind of curious to see other X-Men take over, just because it's weird how much Jennifer Lawrence I feel like has taken over
That franchise.
that whole
Yeah.
franchise. Like Mystique's a great character, but there's so many other ones that they just kind of like bring in for a movie and then they move on. But yeah, let us know what you think in the comments below. And now I want to move on to a big announcement in case you guys haven't heard about it yet. New Rockstars is expanding beyond this YouTube channel to a whole new platform where you can actually watch us do our thing in really the best possible format. It's called Scener. And for the first time ever, you'll be able to watch something with us while we break it down, like in real time. It just makes more sense that way. So it's a Chrome extension that is really, really easy to add, so that when you stream stuff on your computer, you can open up real-time video commentary, so we can point out all that interesting details and all that cool stuff that you might have missed while they come up in the movie, in the TV show. That way we're watching along with you rather than like awkwardly restructuring and reformatting and retelling the movie at you.
Stealing footage.
And yeah, having to run into copyright issues, which is always a challenge for us. And Scener is something that you can participate too. So Scener lets you give your take on the shows and movies that you love to watch by syncing your reaction videos alongside what you're watching in the same browser. So with Scener, you can create, share, and watch video commentary synchronized with streaming shows, movies, and clips from Netflix, Hulu, and YouTube. Just go to Scener.com/newrockstars on your desktop computer, and you can watch with us. And on our New Rockstars channel, you can watch my commentaries on Black Panther and Doctor Strange. You can also see Sam's commentaries on the CW series The Flash, right, Sam?
Go check that out as well. But Stupid Answers is there as well. But it's very cool, and I'd love to do more because it's such a cool and easy thing to use because you just click and you go.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. Check it out.
Yeah, Scener, it's time to make a scene. Check it out, guys. It's a plugin that you can put on Chrome, and you definitely want to try this out. And let's move on to this week's trivia question. The music. I assume there's music playing every time, right? No?
No, there's never been.
Oh.
It's always been your job to add the music.
Well,
Oh, what a beautiful
it's
man.
just not ready to show the world yet. Okay, so here's a trivia question. The movie Logan deliberately avoided specific references to the other X-Men besides the characters in the movie, like Wolverine, Charles Xavier, Caliban, X-23, Donald Pierce, Xander Rice, etc. However, one line in the movie mentions one of the off-screen X-Men by name, though it might have been unintentional. What X-Men character was referenced in Logan? Okay, all of our answers are in the blue thing, and later in the show we'll reveal the answer to the trivia question closest, as decided by our judges. We'll get to do our sign-off goodbyes at the end of the video. Meanwhile, the loser will partake in our new trivia punishment. It's not really new. The latest inductee of the GIF of Shame.
GIF of Shame.
Remember? It's behind me. I swear it's back there. Okay, moving on. So we got an early look at Venom this week, and it's the movie's coming out next weekend, but we got a full scene showing Eddie Brock Venom taking out an entire SWAT team. Let's take a look.
Hands! You do not want to do this, trust me.
Mask! Copy!
All right, have it your own way.
Mask!
Copy.
What the hell? Left grenade!
Ooh,
Wow.
okay. So there's some interesting details to point out from this. You probably heard that Wilhelm scream when Venom threw the officer off the balcony.
What's that sound like again?
That's better.
When your voice cracks, when you see it go, you're like,
Yeah. They brought in a little prepubescent boy into a sound booth and then just recorded him. Hey, so the story behind it, it's an inside joke with sound editors that they mix into big action scenes. It's pretty much in every movie. Like there's Wilhelm scream in every Star Wars movie. You hear it like 20 times in Indiana Jones. So you should recognize it by now. To me, it's interesting how much of an effect the SWAT flash grenades have on Venom. Like they don't knock him out, but they do kind of force him to stumble a bit, and he has to recoil with his tendrils to like reform. So Eddie isn't like invincible as Venom. He's just like stronger than usual. So how strong do you guys think Venom is? And does this action scene, is it what you imagined Venom to be? And does it get you more excited for the movie?
Yeah, he's a force of nature. It's not like Spider-Man attacking people. It's more of its brute strength, and it's scary, and it's like trying to fight like a swarm of bees or something. It's like he's gonna reform in no matter what. And like so, even if you hurt part of it, it's like you didn't take it out. So I do like that they showed like he's vulnerable. You got to show that, because then if it's not, then it's like fighting a wall, and that's boring. So it's cool that you get to see that he reacts. It makes it feel like he's an actual character in the scene. For how strong he is, I feel like we're gonna see him like lift up a car or something and use it as a weapon or something. I feel like that's
which is pretty typical of. I mean, it was always right. Like Spider-Man can lift like a little hatchback or whatever, and Venom can lift like a truck.
Yeah,
but like that's around where they were.
Yeah, I'm liking this action. I think the design of him like picking up the SWAT guy and using him to like hammer other people is super fun, and like it shows like some good like stunt choreography and some conception of interesting action.
Yeah, it's a very creative sequence, which is very exciting, because that'd be the huge waste of it, right? If it was just constantly like Mr. Fantastic style fighting, right? Like you're all the way over there, but I still got you. Like that'd be pretty lame. But it is very much this like amorphous stretchiness, but I keep thinking of Candyman based on what you said, fighting a swarm of bees. But yeah, like so it is very creative. That's the thing that I was hoping for. It did make me more excited to see it, which is good, because I wasn't that excited. But the only thing I'm like, okay, prime that, get ready on that, is his shiny gloss. It does read a hair as like animated or something in that sequence, at least. So I think I'm just gonna have to kind of like get over that, because it's like, you know, famously, like, right, Legolas or something looks like an animated character when he's jumping off the elephant trunk or whatever. Spider-Man, famously in various movies, has always looked like he's made of jelly. Well, Venom kind of is like made of jelly, right? Black cherry jelly, and like he is shiny, so he does have that CGI gloss. So it is going to be a little bit of a disconnect, but hopefully I can get over that.
Yeah, no, same. And also, that's kind of how I imagine him, though. So I think there's no way to really get around it.
The only way would be if he was more of a like light absorbing instead of so reflective. Just like a deep black, or like kind of maybe like Spawn. Spawn was very like practical looking. But
I can't get over how much I like the way the Venom symbiote like devours his head. You know, it looks like it's consuming him both like metaphorically and literally. And I don't know if it was just gonna be that one time that we saw in the trailer, but it looks like every time he suits up, it kind of comes over like a mask that he's wearing, which gives it a more like tactile feel to it, rather than just like emerging over his face in some other weird way or going up this
out
way.
his nose pores or something.
Yeah.
And I like to see that he kind of gets up in the air a little bit. Like he's bigger now. He's more imposing. Also, I forgot that Tom Hardy, he's not a short man, but he's shorter than you think. And so like once he becomes more imposing now as Venom, and it's cool that you get to see that kind of transformation.
Yeah.
It's little too. It's just him raising up a little bit.
From 5'5" to 5'7".
There you go.
Yeah.
And that
5'7" Venom
that's a big
is very
deal.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot more roller coasters you can go on.
Yeah. Let's move on to another story from this week, an update on the Birds of Prey movie. So this is a Harley Quinn-led DC female anti-hero movie, and it has cast Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Journey Smollett-Bell. And
Nice.
now Winstead, you know her from 10 Cloverfield Lane. It's got Pilgrim vs. the World. She's been in a bunch of stuff. She'll be playing Huntress Helena Bertinelli, who in this movie will be a former mafia princess whose family was killed in a mob hit and turned her into a vigilante. Whereas Smollett-Bell has been on TV shows like Friday Night Lights and Underground and True Blood, and she'll be playing Black Canary, aka Dina Lance, a young street fighter from the DC comics. So along with Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, joining this group will be Renee Montoya. They haven't cast it yet. She's a lesbian detective in the Gotham City Police, and it sounds like they have Justina Machado in consideration for the role, along with Roberta Colindrez, and they're both kind of in the running for it. There might be someone else. We don't know yet, but they have narrowed it down. And these women will take on the Batman villain Black Mask with the help of Cassandra Cain. And they're shooting the movie in 2019. They're going to release it February 2020. So it sounds like this is great, and sounds like this is exactly the direction I would want the DC universe to go. Just like taking one character and building out a small thing out of it. And it sounds like a very interesting mission that they're going on in that
Nice.
movie, a rescue mission.
I liked Mary Elizabeth Winstead's quote about it, because it was just like, it was super simple. It was just so straightforward. It was nothing attached to it. It's just like Kathy Ann, the director, was just like, she pitched the character so well. She was like, "Oh, I get it. Like, I get what you want to do with this character," which that's a good sign of a good director. Right. So like, and that's what you hope for every movie. But I enjoyed the way that she's not like excited to play Huntress. She's excited to be this character in this movie that Kathy Ann wants to make, and that makes me more excited. Also, Cassandra Cain is such a cool character, and I would love to see more of her. And Renee Montoya as just a detective, if that's what you want, or to make her the Question, if you want to do that as well, because the Question's always a fun character.
Yeah.
It's conspiracy theorist, but is willing to get off of their computer and actually go out and like fight people, which is great. And Black Mask is always confusing to me, because some people are like, "Oh, it's a leather number on his face." It's like, "Oh no, it's someone last night tweeted me. It was like, no, it's the coffin, the wood coffin that his father died in." And I was like, "Wait, it's wood?"
Or it's an ebony type. Wasn't like an ebony?
There's a bunch of different versions, which
carve it into a skull.
It's so confusing, because it's like, oh, whatever. But and they threw out like Ewan McGregor's name for that, or Sholto Copley. Like, there's a couple, like, there's some cool names attached to this that make me excited. And I have had a crush on Mary Elizabeth Winstead since I was like super young, and so like this is cool. And Journey seems fun, so go for Black Canary. That's awesome. And the racist people, you can go ahead and shut up. Easy.
Oh, sure, yeah. This seems like a very like exciting direction to go with it, and I like hearing that. I just want to play the character rather than having to like live up to the expectation of what's in fans' minds. And I think having some of these smaller characters allows them to just kind of create the character and as it's needed for the story, as opposed to having to do too much fan service. So that's what this movie looks like. It's just centered on one specific mission, and the characters serve the purpose for that mission rather than having to like set up a franchise or something like that.
And I think there's been like 7 to 8 different versions of Black Canary in the Arrow shows, in Smallville, and in animated form. So
Black Canary is the one that they always were like, that's the first girl we always got to bring in. You know,
you had Smallville, you had Sarah Lance, you had Laura Lance, you had Dinah Drake, then you had Black Siren, then you had a Nazi version of Black Siren showing up. That's just Arrow over there.
Yeah.
That's 5 different ones for Arrow. So I think Journey's going to be fine. So shush.
Yeah. Moving on, another synopsis that we heard about this week was the upcoming Black Widow solo movie, starring, of course, Scarlett Johansson as Natasha Romanoff, and it's going to be directed by Kate Shortland. Now, this report came from a fairly reputable production tracking site. It's not confirmed by Marvel, but like these are people with inside sources, and it sounds fairly plausible. And here's what the synopsis was: quote, "At birth, the Black Widow, aka Natasha Romanoff, is given to the KGB, which grooms her to become its ultimate operative. When the USSR breaks up, the the government tries to kill her as the action moves to present-day New York, where she is a freelance operative. The standalone film will find Romanov living in the United States 15 years after the fall of the Soviet Union, which is interesting because if this is true, it would set the timeline of this Black Widow movie in the year 2006, with, of course, flashbacks to 1991 when the USSR broke up. And this would be 2 years before Iron Man arrived on the scene. That was 2008. And this would show a 22-year-old Natasha. So my question is, with Captain Marvel set in the 90s and Dark Phoenix set in 1992 and Wonder Woman set during World War I and the second movie set in the 80s, why are these studios afraid to set female superhero movies in the modern day? Why do they all have to be period pieces?
I don't know, but that is a really confusing. Why that date? Like, that's such a specific date to do that. You get...
It's for each of them. It's like they were here the whole time. I get it. It might be interesting, especially with like Wonder Woman setting it in World War I. She was like the one woman on the scene on those battlefronts. So like you could make an interesting statement or create an interesting image.
I mean, that character has famously, even in the MCU, has backstory that's very dramatic that they always tease at, right? So there's something already pre-established that like to go back and revisit. Also, though, if they did set it in present day, I don't know if you guys have felt this, but every movie that's come out kind of recently in the MCU where it's just one of the heroes, there's this like, there's always a thread about it, or it's always a thing they have to respond to. It's like, why didn't they call the other Avengers? Why did they just take tackles themselves? And it's like, you know, she's a human. They don't want to have you like thinking like, well, too bad she's not, you know, Thor, or Thor weren't here because he would solve this very quickly. You want to give her like human struggles in a pre-Avengers world where she's also not that great at like figuring things out either. She's obviously like grown a lot as a character, but that's a more boring time to look at instead of a more formative time when she still maybe has an accent. That's how she started. Yeah.
Kind of went away.
Yeah, maybe there's just a version of her that like is like a little bit more broken. I do like the idea of also like, you know, maybe more of a Jason Bourne rogue kind of feel to it where they're like she's being hunted. That wouldn't work with like S.H.I.E.L.D. having already recruited her, and they would just take care of her, you know?
Yeah.
Also, it could be a signal to where she ends up after the end of this movie. So, of Infinity War 2. They're like, oh, we have to tell before. If you get what I mean?
That's
Like,
true.
yeah, there's no more after
Recast
that.
of Jennifer Lawrence.
There you go. For this movie.
It makes sense in the Marvel world because, it's a cinematic universe. So anytime you try to set something in the present day, everyone like us are making videos about, like, how does this connect to the timeline? So you kind of get around that by setting it before all the events happen in that dark era of the 90s.
I like them going just
2000s.
backwards and, like, undoing other, like, movies, right? Like, they're going to, like, redo Fantastic Four back then.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. And, it's always fun to see a period piece. It's weird now that 2006 is considered a period piece. I'm kind of curious to see what specific cultural
I hope
touchstones.
I'll be able to understand them.
Yeah. Lots of Rent
Wow.
the movie references. What happened in 2006? I don't know.
I don't know. That was very you
Rent the, that was my 2006. Rent the movie. Rent
The movie is really
and
good.
you gotta rent the movie because it's can you still do that? Probably not.
In 2006
who wants to
probably.
rent
Yeah.
pay your rent, guys. Like, I'm in my 30s now. It's not cool to not pay your rent. You're a jerk. Anyway. Okay, we got an update on another movie coming out. The other Joker movie in development. This is the one with Joker and Harley Quinn, the spinoff from Suicide Squad, starring Jared Leto and Margot Robbie. Now, the script is being written by Glenn Ficarra and John Requa. They wrote the NBC show This Is Us. They also wrote the movie Bad Santa. And they said that this Joker-Harley movie kind of feels like a cross between the two. They said that the story begins with Harley kidnapping Dr. Phil. This is just in the script right now. And she wants Dr. Phil to help her with her and the Joker's relationship issues. And the writers hope for kind of a relationship movie, but with the sensibility of Bad Santa, kind of like effed up people, a relationship between two mentally deranged people. So do you guys think this is like a step in the right direction after Suicide Squad? Or is this more of like, we'll see what happens here?
It stinks.
What was there was a good tweet out there. It was like, This Is Us and Bad Santa, and it was this is bad. This is a bad, this is a bad idea. It's just weird because why do we want to see them figure this out? It's an abusive, toxic relationship. I know there's times in relationships when it gets tough. The Joker is like, whenever you see the lineup of Batman villains, Joker's in the middle because you can never sympathize with him, and you're not supposed to, right? He is like uber magical Joker, funny man terrorist. Like, he is all embodiment of evil. So it's like seeing them try to work it out. You're like, I don't want you to be there. I wouldn't want anyone in that relationship. So it's like, funny idea, funny pitch. It's hard to to separate out the fact that he brutally murders and tortures and probably isn't great in other arenas to her, so I don't think this is a good idea.
Well, unless you steer directly into it, unless that's something she's like having an active cognitive conversation about, like, this guy, I was a normal person working in an Arkham asylum, and this guy brainwashed me, and she's like aware of that, so she's able to like play that character at the top of her intelligence rather than someone who's like basically in Stockholm syndrome and doesn't realize it.
Are you in that movie? She would have to come out on top of him and like defeat him like enough, right? Like Jennifer Lopez, just this movie enough, right? Where it's kind of like that's the angle or whatever. Like, you did this to me, so now I'm getting you back. I don't want this movie made. I don't want to see this movie. I want there to be less Joker movies. I want there to be a good Batman again. Like, I'm so tired of over like it's like the shark from Jaws. Remember, was like such a good character when you didn't see him that much, and then he became 3D, and they put him in SeaWorld and something and they like just really overdid it. Yeah. It's like, man, the Joker is a great character, and you guys are really finding ways to make me like him less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Same. It does feel like they're taking the C plot from Suicide Squad and just trying to make it its own movie, because they did have that kind of romantic element in Suicide Squad, and every time it was on screen, I'm like, why is this part of the story?
Remember that they had to re-edit their relationship in Suicide Squad, and it was like extremely offensive, and then people were like, we do not like seeing this level of abuse on screen, so they recut it so that it was like a fun take on it or whatever, but they had to like take out these horrible moments. Yeah. And it's like, that's because the more you get into that relationship, the worse it is.
Yeah, because you should never want that, ever. You shouldn't want this relationship. Any Hot Topic fan out there, I know what you're thinking. They aesthetically, they look cool, but they're bad. They're bad for each other.
I think there's room in the world to make a movie about toxic relationships and abusive relationships. I don't know if this is the lens I want to look at that through, though. There's a real conversation. There's real interesting, compelling characters and storytelling you can do with that topic. I'm not saying you can never make a movie that deals with it. I'm just not feeling like this movie's going to do it. It feels like they're doing a comedic take on it. I think the people who are writing are super talented writers. I just don't know if it can be done. Yeah. I don't know.
That beginning sounds like the beginning of a bad graphic novel. You ever like turn to the first pages and they have like celebrity cameos in a graphic novel or something? You're just like, no,
thank you. Yeah. No, and that's what I say to this movie is no, thank you. I don't want to. And you know what? You're right. They should be able to tell these movies. It's just if all of this could calm down for a second, just all the DC stuff could calm down and take your time, and eventually you could get to a place where you could tell the story, and we would respect it and be excited for you to actually do this. But I don't trust you, so please don't.
Not only does it seem frantic, it also feels like the left hand isn't talking to the right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, you're also working on a Joker movie?
Oh, no way. That's too,
That's so crazy, yeah.
But I'll tell you, that other Joker movie, the Todd Phillips, Joaquin Phoenix one, I keep getting more and more excited about.
I'm excited for Joaquin Phoenix. I did not think
I'd be excited for either of them. Yeah. Joaquin Phoenix's take looks pretty interesting.
Whenever you're excited about a movie, do you immediately wish there was another movie starring the same character that's also coming out soon? You know what I mean? Like, it's like... Like, I agree that like there's something interesting with that movie, but that doesn't mean that the character needs to have 8 takes on it at the same time.
And yeah, anytime I get excited, especially with like a superhero adaptation or a supervillain adaptation, my take is always like, man, I wish they had just told a story that didn't have some kind of IP attached to it. Why didn't they just tell a story about a struggling comedian in the 80s who wasn't the Joker, who just snapped and became like a killer? That's a fascinating story.
You know what?
I don't need to know it's the Joker to go pay to go see that.
I feel like they know what we're saying, right? These people are mildly smart, right? Like they get it, right? We're doing so much of this. Part of me thinks it could be strategic to just wash away the Heath Ledger thing, where it was just like that was a big question, right? Can anyone play the Joker after Heath Ledger? Is it allowed? Can anyone do that again? And so it's like, how about we just have like 8 people play it in a 4-year span?
Yeah.
And then now no one even remembers Heath Ledger
on TV and movies, right? Because in Gotham
and everyone has to play. Everyone can play the Joker because everyone has played the Joker now.
Yeah, there you go. Well, let us know what you think in the comments below. But now comes the time for our New Rockstars News Lightning Round. Ka-chow! 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 You get sweetest questions. We're gonna fire them at Sam, Filup, and back at me, and we all got to answer this quickly and without hesitation as possible. Are we ready?
Yes.
Yes. Sam at Peyton Parker 34 wants to know, which superhero do you think would swipe right for you on Tinder? So who is a crush on Sam?
Oh, that's probably maybe it's not Element Girl. It's the one girl, she can't talk, she only talks to herself, and her car looks like bubble gum. That's probably
your
it.
type.
That's probably, and that's
You're her type.
Hey, you know what? She
Doesn't
could be a
mean,
blast, but she turns into water and sand and stuff. It would be a tough relationship, but there's my honest answer.
Yeah, there you go.
Thanks, everybody.
Ka-chow.
Ciao.
Philip at ZachMan87 wants to know.
Zachman.
Who do you want to be the most? Be loved as much as Jon Snow or be as heroic as Iron Man?
Iron Man.
I guess Jon Snow wasn't that loved. They did mutiny and murder him.
Yeah. Also, do that many people hate Iron Man? He's like.
I guess he's not. He's more known as, I guess, being more heroic than like beloved by everyone because he's kind of like.
Do we not love our heroes? Superman is like
Age of
the most
Ultron
like,
Iron Man. Age of Ultron Iron Man was picking fights with everyone, and then they were so mad at him.
in a friend group
Andre
of small
Woodard
people.
tried to, she shoved her dead son's picture on his
Yeah.
chest. He's not that liked.
Oh, that scene. Now I
Yeah.
remember what you're talking
She
about.
also-
Alfred Woodard.
Yeah, Amanda Waller is who it was.
Yeah, Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little weird. There.
No, Iron Man 1,000 times over. And can I have his money?
Same.
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. And then there's a couple
Erik,
options. Suspense.
People keep asking you a similar one to that. What's your favorite? But yeah, these are all these are repeats. All right, how about we'll go with at Andrea Clark 92. Erik, what is Thanos' favorite Disney/Pixar movie of all time?
Thanos' favorite.
Lightning.
Oh, lightning. Okay.
Ka-chow.
His favorite would
Ka-chow.
probably be Cars 2.
Yeah, the spy one.
Where lots of weird death happens, and then Doc Hudson just vanishes from existence, and it's not addressed at all.
Bruce
because the
Campbell's
actor
car
didn't
gets
survive.
murdered in a bathroom.
There you go.
Quick shout out to your Pixar video.
Oh yeah, guys.
Cars World.
Anytime we get a chance to shout this out, go find our take on like the rules of cars. It's like we did a whole thing on like.
Do they have sex? Is
do
there a
cars
Cars
have sex? How
Hitler?
do they reproduce?
There's a Cars
Was there
religion.
a Cars,
Catholicism exists. That means there was
there's a Cars
Catholicism.
Pope. Yeah. There was a Cars
Catholicism.
9/11. They have to take off their car shoes at the airport. That's why we have to do it because there's a 9/11. Guys, all this
All
and
that
more.
and more, yeah.
You gotta. It's my favorite video that we've ever done. Oh, and who did it? Did cars go on a plane
Did
and
the
hijack
planes have, or are they sentient
it?
themselves?
Yeah. Who was the radicalized Muslim in this case? Yeah. Anyway.
What in the world?
It's a great video. Kids don't watch. Anyway, finally, let's return to the. Actually, let's do our 15-second shout out. All right, this is where all of us gets to shout out or plug or ramble or rant about anything we want. Sam, you got something?
Yes, I got two. I'll do them really quick. American Vandal Season 2. It's on Netflix. American Vandal does not get enough love. It's an amazing comedy/true crime show, and it's very short. It's 8 episodes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes a piece. You'd love it. Also, October 19th, same release day as Daredevil Season 3. Go watch The Night Comes For Us, The Night Comes For Us on Netflix. If you like kung fu action movies that are just gritty and just balls to the wall, it's such a fun movie. Get all your friends together and watch it. I highly recommend it.
Nice.
Great. Phil?
We should do it on Scener.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I'm going to cede my 15 seconds to Erik Voss because I know he has a bigger one.
Oh, okay, yeah,
do.
we'll go for it. So yeah, I've been shouting this out every week, but it's Infinity Fan. It's my live parody show of like Marvel and Star Wars and all the stuff that you could possibly be a fan of, but it's an interesting, deeper, top of your intelligence take on it. It's not just fan service and pandering. There's a lot of that, but hopefully this is an educational process of the ways that we should look at these movies and be maybe grateful for their existence, but there's also plenty of parody of the movies themselves. I'm very excited. I've never really worked as hard on like a comedic project, a live thing that I've done before here in LA. This is actually, Filup and I used to do a lot of these kind of things in college together, so it feels like kind of going back in time a bit and putting on these big stunt type shows, so it's been really fun. But yeah, if you live in the LA area, check it out. And who knows, like if it's a big hit, we might do multiple showings of it. We might take it on the road. I don't know how that would work.
No,
very
promise it.
expensive.
Promise
Yeah,
it.
it's
Promise.
a guarantee.
Real quick, give us one, it'll right now be a non sequitur sentence from that show that they'll have to come see in order to understand what the hell that sentence means.
A character in the show says, "Most of my farts have twist endings."
There you go.
That's a good one.
Infinity fan. Worth
Yeah.
the plane ticket.
Yeah, do it. Philip, do you have it, or is that you just
I gave it to you,
gave
yeah.
me? Thank you for that. And now let us return to this week's trivia question that we asked earlier.
Nothing.
Oh yeah, I think
I
we
had
nailed
no
it.
idea.
I think we got it. The way
Yeah,
this is going to
I
work.
barely understood this question.
Oh, Philip, let's swap here. As we know, the loser of this will have to be part of the GIF of shame. And the way this works is, we'll have to draw a random thing from the box, and they have to do it on repeat, and then we'll turn it into a GIF to make you look stupid. But just to remind you what the question was, it was this whole idea of what X-Men character was referenced in Logan, a movie that barely referenced anything in the X-Men universe other than the characters who are in it. They did maybe unintentionally reference an X-Men's character's name that some people construed as a reference. So who was that character?
Definitely not mine. I have Erik. I have Rogue.
I feel like Rogue.
He's
Like I've gone rogue.
Could have gone Rogue, would be my guess.
Yeah.
Well, who could? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Fimo says Storm. There's
a storm
There's
coming.
a storm
The same
coming.
thing, yeah,
Storm
yeah.
coming, Master Wayne. Yeah.
And Sam said that common colloquialism, Jean Grey.
Oh, wait, hold on. He's got jeans.
Yeah,
That's Jean's great.
Wait.
Oh, no, more of a blue.
We're
blue
looking.
tone.
Robot Handman was like, "We're looking for Wolverine," and they're like, "Wait, is that guy in the Jean Green Gray?"
Sam, you weren't too far off. The answer is Phoenix. So the line was, Pierce says, "I heard he was in Phoenix."
I heard you was in Phoenix.
So let's
Oh man.
Dab on that one.
yeah. Okay, so probably not intentional by the screenwriter there, but most Easter eggs that we talk about are not intended by the writers and directors.
Interesting.
So, judges, who was the closest? Yeah, Sam. Who was closest? Yeah, great.
Gold for
And
Sam.
then between Storm and
Rogue.
what was yours? And Rogue. What's
Both
closer
of
to
'em.
Phoenix?
Both of them.
Rock, paper, scissors.
All right, sure.
Yeah, scissors for it.
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
All right.
Okay, so Philip is our loser and going to have to join the GIF of shame. Sam will get to
GIF
do our
of
goodbyes,
shame. GIF
and
of
we'll
shame.
we'll chant shame at Philip while he
What?
does it.
Oh, chant.
You get one?
Yeah. Oh, wait.
Philip's not going to participate in the GIF of shame.
Just not in.
Philip's going to be a sore loser and make a mess everywhere. No,
sorry
not
for
the
your ears.
box of the shoebox of shame here.
All right, let's see. Pretend you are a bag of microwave popcorn gradually expanding as the kernels pop.
Okay, great.
There you go. This sounds really good.
So Philip, you want to swap with me here? So you can be in front of our green screen.
Yeah.
And guys, we want to encourage you to use this. We have a green screen here for you now, so Philip can be anywhere. He can be in any awkward setting. You want to put him as this. He doesn't even have to be a bag of popcorn. He can be whatever you see him
That's
as.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Go ahead and give me a chant.
Yeah.
Shame. Look at this interpretation.
Shame.
Shame. This is a
Shame.
gag lifted directly
Shame.
from Infinity War.
Shame.
Look at him go.
Shame. Shame.
You want to do our goodbye, Sam?
Shame. Here we go. Thank you for watching this week's episode of New Rockstars News. I want to thank our hosts, me, that's Sam Bashor, Erik Voss at EA Voss, and Philip Molina at Fimo. Thank you guys. Make sure you comment down below, tweet at New Rockstars, like this video, share it around, and subscribe to New
Lumiere.
Rockstars for more deep dives into the stuff that you love.
Oh,
The
Copyright hit.
champions, my friends. See you next week. Bye-bye. Popcorn. I'm getting a little hungry.
Yeah. Let's get ice cream.
Yay. Cool. Rogue. Uh-oh, she's gone rogue.
was in Phoenix.
Not an X-Men.
Is she not an X-Men?